So you meet these amazing, amazing people sometimes on podcast interviews. And even if you are just doing it in the virtual world, you can feel their energy that comes through the screen. That is my man, Brandon Steiner. I felt like I just had a conversation with a mentor for the last hour. Brandon is the founder and president of the Steiner Agency, which was bought a few years ago from him, but it is the nation's premier independent athlete procurement source. So if Derek Jeter or Mariano Rivera or Eli Manning, if somebody wants them to be a sponsor for their company or make an appearance or something like that, the Steiner Agency represents those people and connects them to different businesses to help those businesses grow. That was a massive, massive business. And Brandon amassed a lot of success from that. He ended up being a serial entrepreneur, and he now has another business called the Collectors Exchange. So he's in two businesses. One is sports marketing, and two is collectibles. And in both cases, he markets talent. But what I loved about Brandon so much was his advice to all of us. And I want to call a few things out as you listen to the interview, because I think it will help anyone attempting to try life on your way, attempting to do better in the 9 to 5, attempting to be an entrepreneur. He talked about having a high level of curiosity. I've talked about that in my own ways in the past. The reasons even though I was an executive in the IT space for 25 years, I was curious to be a police officer, so did that. I was curious to be a federal agent, so did that. I was curious about owning restaurants, so did that. It's not that you want to go do everything. It's that you want to be in this state of constant learning. You want to be in this state of what Brandon articulates as having a high level of non-acceptance. Having a high level of non-acceptance of what the typical status quo is relative to your own life. So he talked about high level of curiosity plus having a high level of non-acceptance, having a high level of enthusiasm. Think back to when you were 10 years old and you had no constraints on your ability to dream. And now, for some reason, as adults, after 20 years of formal education, we are kind of told what we are supposed to be, where we're supposed to go, what success looks like. No, have a great level of enthusiasm. And the thing that really drove that home for me was he expressed that the root word of enthusiasm is enthusios, to be with God. And whether you are a believer or not, it's just that there is a higher power or maybe a different source of energy that really pushes you forward. And I just think this human is amazing. Brandon is a motivational speaker. He gets paid beaucoup bucks to be in front of amazing audiences for world-class organizations like the New York Yankees, BMW North America, Nike, Live Nation, Cornell University, Harvard Business School, etc. And he's done TEDx talks as well. And he is a permanent fixture on radio outlets like 98.7 in New York, which is ESPN New York. And he's appeared frequently on CNBC, CNN, MSNBC, ESPN, newspapers, etc. You get it. And somehow I was fortunate enough to get this amazing man on my podcast to give us some energy and love and some direction on how we can try life on more, especially because he wrote 3 books already. One of them is called Living on Purpose, which I found really fascinating relative to the topics I tend to talk about. Ooh, that was a lot, but I just wanted to give you a sense of the magnitude of this man who has done so many businesses, engaged with so many high-level people in the world, and he is still pushing himself as he's in his 60s. And I strive to be like this brother when I grow up, right? In the next decade and a half, or what have you. So I hope you appreciate this wide-reaching conversation with Brandon Steiner. He has so much to offer beyond this podcast. Please try and track him down. He's very active on LinkedIn at Brandon Steiner, throwing his views out there. And as he says, espousing the 2 reasons to be on this planet, which is 1, to help people, and 2, to help people grow. And that's exactly what he did on this podcast. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Brandon Steiner. Brandon Steiner, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. All is good. Life's good.
All is
I
good.
love this time of year. You know why?
Why is that?
Because when things get a little rough, you can always go home and find a game. college football, NFL, NBA. You just finished the World Series.
Yeah,
There's a
man.
big game every night to go hide. And I
Yep.
can go hide in my room and I have an excuse, to spend 3 hours and not think about anything. So I like that every now and then. But it's also fourth quarter and it's always a busy time for me. Not
Yeah.
because of the obvious, but you have to get next year in order.
Yep.
Like if you're not thinking about next year now, like, oh boy, you're late to the date.
We have no choice. We have no choice. And I love what you said about games. I was in airports. So I'm a big traveler, 100 countries now. I was in an airport yesterday and talking to someone at the lounge, and I said, the reason I love the airport is because there's only two places left on earth where there's true love and camaraderie. One is the airport. Like nobody's trying to hurt each other in the airport. We're trying to help each other get somewhere, have a drink at the bar or whatever. And two is sports. In the arena, in the stadium, everyone's rooting for the same team or rooting against the other guy, but it's genuine love. That's what's left, in my opinion, in this world.
And you're safe. And you're
Yeah,
safe, which is important these days.
you are. So welcome to the show, brother. And I did do before we started talking, there was a introduction of your amazing career and who you are and why you are. And I want to preface it that one of the reasons that I got excited to talk with you is because you said two things that resonated with me relative to the true reasons to be alive in this world. And one is to help people, and one is to grow. And I wanted to see if you could introduce kind of who you are and what you have done from that perspective, because that seems to have shaped the businesses that you're in and the relationships that you grow.
Well, I always say happiness resides on the crossroads of growth and gratitude. And if you're not focused on growing or thanking people for everything that's helped you get to whatever it is you even have today, let alone in general, then you're probably a little miserable. And there's always an excuse. To me, I think that some of us have the luck of having the big excuse so that we can kind of lie underneath that rock. And that gives us the reason why we can't move forward, do what we ultimately want to do. But the big excuse really is actually the motivator that's been placed there to get you going. And if you think about the hardest things you've had to face, or when you've gotten screwed, or things didn't go well, adversity, those are the get started movements. That's what pushes you against the wall or gets you going.
That's it.
And I think for me, the lucky thing is that I got to get going really early.
Okay.
Like at 10 years old. So at 10 years old, I was like, man, I don't have a whole lot of money, don't have food, don't have much clothing, kind of even lacking some of the basic necessities. I didn't think I needed to be living in the Taj Mahal, but you wake up one morning, you realize as a kid, you don't have a lot of those things. And maybe I got to shortcut this childhood. I would say I got evicted from my childhood, but it's kind of true. Like I needed to get, getting real adult like quick so I could kind of keep going. So that was kind of my first get going movement was, which kind of I think helps mold into who you are, is where you were raised and who raised you and under what circumstances. Now, some people you get raised with a lot of entitlement. You've made a lot of money and there's some real advantages to that. And you got to be careful of the disadvantages. You can become a little entitled and soft and realize that things come easy. But at the end, the real game is, if life is a game, is how do you trick yourself to waking up broke every morning? And broke in your mindset and your mental mindset, but rich in your soul. Your mindset's telling you that, I don't know if you could do it.
Right.
I don't care how much money you have, whatever you like. I don't have a lot, whatever it is. I need more. I know I've got to get from first base to second base, no matter what I do. But my soul knows that I'm a good, worthwhile, deserving person. And I'm here for a reason. And I'm going to figure it out. So you don't want to get yourself completely crazy. But to keep yourself highly motivated, I try to wake up broke. It was relatively easy the first 25 years of my life because it was true.
Yeah, it was a
real
real
little more difficult the last 25 years because I've made a lot of money and I've been very fortunate. So, but one thing I haven't done is rest on the fact that I've made a lot of money, because a lot of people do. Like the old, do you know who I am? And just because you got a lot of money in your pocket doesn't give you any real advantage over the next guy, other than the fact you have a lot of money. And a lot of people think that sometimes that having a lot of money gives you those free passes. You can get a better hotel room. You can get some VIP treatment, but it's all borrowed stuff. The real hardcore stuff, you got to earn. Everybody knows it. And if you feel locked into a situation, more than likely, the only the only key that you need is what's going on up in your head. And for me, I never, ever, ever try to get locked in, because nobody can lock me in. Only I can.
Only
And
you.
I've worked for some big companies with a lot of politics, my friend.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of
I know.
politics, and you can always figure it out. And if you negotiate and work really hard, you can negotiate a lot of things more than you ever think you can. If you're good at what you do and you work hard, you'd be
Yeah,
surprised what your boss will give you and can negotiate for you to give you the opportunity to be, you know, who and what you want to be. But if you
yeah.
don't, and you're like, well, it's just a job and I don't like working here, then get the hell out of there, because again, you're probably not growing and learning.
Yeah, people should leverage it. And I tell people all the time, there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. There's something wrong with how we lack the framework or motivation to leverage it for what we want out of life. But I do think it starts from a little bit of self-motivation. You clearly have it. I know you just started another company at 60, was what you were telling me, the collectible exchange. But before that, can you talk a bit about, I'm well aware of the Steiner Agency and what it did, how it has helped a ton of people. By the way, I tried out for the NFL way back in my day. I tried out. I gave it a run, but now I'm just a true fan. But give us a rundown of the Steiner Agency. What motivated you to start it, and how do you even, where do you get that from? Like, that's not a normal, for me, that's not a normal 9 to 5. I'm gonna go work for this particular company. You decide to start your own brand and then connect with a lot of other amazing brands too.
Well, I mean, first of all, it was very tough. I mean, I built Steiner Sports. Most people know me from Steiner Sports as an
Yeah,
international brand. Put my
yeah,
life into it, and I got thrown out. It was a hostile takeover, and I was a little bit upset, no doubt, as you can imagine. But I
sure.
figured it was happening for a reason.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure, but I had a really good plan that I've been sitting with, that I was trying to put in place. And then God was saying, look, if you weren't putting that plan in place where you were, I had to go blow that up and set you off to go to the next thing. That's
Yeah,
kind of how I looked at it. And
yeah,
it took me a little while to get there, but you know, in all fairness, like I always felt like with all this collectibles I created, we needed a marketplace for people to buy and sell. And
yeah.
if I took you to a video of my office, even as my office is packed, there's no room in this office. People,
There's a
so it's
lot of,
almost like God heard me, and now He's sending everybody to me. Kind of
yeah,
like the field of dreams. If you build it, they'll come. Like people are dropping off stuff almost like it's Christmas time. And this was kind of, you know, the elves and everybody working up here. And then I've been doing the Steiner. So collectible exchange is 4 years in, and it's amazing
nice. Hmm.
what we've built. And one of the things I tell people all the time is like, if you have a dream and you're thinking of doing something, you put a lot of pressure on yourself with big goals and expectations. Like you got to try to avoid that. So when I went home, my wife asked me the same question you just asked me. Like, look, we have enough money. You don't have to work.
Yes.
Really haven't had to work since I'm 40, which is
Yeah.
just amazing. When you're talking about the fact when I was 10 or 15, I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, God, I just hope I can one day make a living to be able to
Mm-hmm.
afford a roof over my head. But like, I go home and I tell my wife, I'm just going to try something.
Just get something
Nah,
new.
I got this big idea,
Yeah.
because I'm coming from a big idea that started from nothing. You know, I
Yep.
started Steiner with $4,000 and turned it into a $50-60 million plus company.
Wow.
So when I tell my friends, I'm just trying something. You know, I've been dabbling with some real estate stuff, collectible exchange, just trying some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
keeping
Mm-hmm.
myself busy. This way, if it didn't work, I said, I tried it. Oh my God, I did this. And as soon as somebody comes with an idea, they're trying to raise all this money. And it's just, no, move into
Just
I'm
try something
trying it mode.
small. Just something small.
Yeah, just like when you go to the beach.
Movement.
You know, most people don't jump into the water. You go
Yep.
there, you dip your toe in, get a little comfortable, then you go a little further in, then you go a little
Yep.
further in. Well, you know, you're in the water, or maybe it's too cold, you get the hell out.
Yep.
And nothing gained, nothing lost. So
Yep.
I've been playing that game with my friends and my wife, just trying a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steiner Agency really helps companies grow by the use of celebrity and athlete marketing. So
Yes.
I've been doing this since 1987. And not to be a egomaniac here, but I'm really good at it. Like no matter what company, particularly non-sports companies you
Yep.
wouldn't think of, I can go in there, analyze your company, and show you how to hire and use athletes to blow your company up and take it to another level. And you don't have to get Michael Jordan to do it. Now, I've been doing this for 40 years. So the relationships I have and the view and the amount of things that I've seen done and have done, with athlete marketing enables me to do that very quickly, very simply, almost amazingly, frankly. Sometimes when I sit here and a client comes in, their business is a little bit in trouble, or they're trying to do something, how fast I can fix it, or at least get it going. So I take pride in both areas. My
I like
goal
that.
as a kid is very clear, never to be successful, but I wanted to be extraordinary at a couple things, at something. And I knew when I became extraordinary at something, it would open up the doors for many other things, which it has. But I enjoy the fact that I'm really good at something, and I've been able to
Yeah.
lock in and focus on these two areas of concentration. I'm not the ultimate
What are the two?
sports marketer. I'm a good sports marketer, but I'm great at marketing talent. Great at it. I match myself up to anybody in marketing talent. Anybody in the world, in the country. I mean, that's how good I am at it. And
Okay.
then, I'm a 4-0 name in the collectible business, which, there's nobody's done more in the collectible industry, sports collectible industry, with putting out, creating, everything else. So, I'm happy with that. And when people say, like, what keeps you going? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't work really hard all these years so that I could stop one day. I work really hard to be great at it. And when you're great at something, you enjoy it, you love it. And so, I wake up every day pretty motivated because I'm doing something I'm really good at and I enjoy.
Look, what are some of the kinds of businesses that most people wouldn't think of that you have connected athletes to, or other people that you connect to, but you've connected athletes to help them grow those businesses? Like immediately, my brain goes to apparel, design wear, food and hospitality. But are there other unique things that athletes quietly do that maybe some of the listeners can, like, oh, I never really thought about that?
Well, first, let me tell you a little story.
Yeah, hit me.
And then I'll answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you know who Jack Taylor is?
Which
Jack
Jack?
Taylor? Jack Taylor was the founder of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise Rent-A-Car is
Okay.
the biggest rent-a-car agency in the world, bigger than Avis, Hertz, Budget, and whoever's in fourth place combined. That's how big Enterprise is.
Okay.
Jack Taylor was a Navy sailor on the boat called the Enterprise, hence the name Enterprise. Yep. He gets out of the Navy and goes to work for a Cadillac dealership. We're talking like 50 years ago. He sees that a bunch of cars are damaged, broken down, accident, and people need a car. So he goes to the owner of the car dealership and says, can I rent those people a car? They need a car for a few days or a week. He goes, yeah. He starts with 4 cars, turns into 8, 12, 16, ba-boom, ba-bing, ba-boom. Now,
from scratch.
I just mentioned that's the largest car rental agency in the world. Do you know how many the percentage of cars that get rented to people over the counter at an airport or when somebody's traveling on vacation?
No.
You guess what the percentage of his business that does that?
70?
Now that's pretty much a common answer, but the truth of the matter is it's 15%. 15% of the people that rent from Enterprise Rent-A-Car get a car over the counter for a rent-a-car. What Jack figured out is he's a replacement car agency. If you ever get into an accident, if you ever go to a body shop, Enterprise Rent-A-Car sign with a number. He cut deals with every body shop in the world. Literally.
He thought outside the box.
He cut deals with every insurance company. So when you need a car for a month because your car is totaled or whatever it is, you go to Enterprise. And the reason I tell you that story, how I hope it relates to people listening, is that that's a pretty straightforward business. And he took that business and thought about it differently. He looked at people that were of a need and found a niche. Always niches are in the riches. Riches are in the niches.
Yep.
Now, to answer your question, you're a real estate agency.
Yep.
Why not use a name that could be part of your group? You think that somebody selling a car doesn't want to meet a local athlete more than just meeting you? Because it's all about how do you go get referrals? How do you go get leads? How do you go get, you own any business, you go to a charity event.
Yeah.
We all do it. We have to go buy a table for a charity event. You sit at the table, you invite 10 people, and you're sitting there after you've had a few minutes of conversation in complete misery. How fast can I get out of here?
Yep.
But if you're with an athlete at the table,
that's right,
it would change the dynamic. Not to mention meeting the other 400 people in the charity event. Not to mention the person whose charity event you went to now appreciates you because you brought another element to make the event more valuable. So, one of the things that when I'm trying to figure out, when I'm trying to book an athlete to help a company grow, whether it be going to a sporting event, having a contest, I've done contests with electronic chains whoever sells the most phones, whoever sells the most adapters, phone batteries, whatever it is, gets to go to a game and meet a player. But I would have the player leave a bunch of email voice messages with everybody who's in first place, who's in second, and getting people
I see.
motivated.
I see.
So there's always a way. You go to a trade show, you can set up your booth, or you can have an athlete there to stop people. You know, I remember bringing Walter Payton down for a drug pharmacy, and on it said, "Don't rush by. This is an amazing opportunity to learn about this drug and to meet Walter Payton." This was back in 1998. Amazing. So like, there's always a way to use a talent in a very unique way, kind of similar to the way Jack Taylor was thinking. So don't look at your company as a simple. A lot of people underestimate what their company is and what you really do.
Yep.
But your company does a lot more than what you think it does, and you can always look at your company a lot differently if you choose to and get out of the box. And the way you do that is, and this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say in this conversation. The way you do that is get out of your head and stop thinking about what you want and what you're thinking, and start thinking about what your customers are feeling, what they're thinking.
From their perspective.
If you fill yourself, in order to fill yourself, forget yourself. And when you get out of your own head and you increase your empathy, your ability to put yourself in other people's shoes, it'll bring you to the common sense aspect of what the people you're dealing with and what their needs and wants are, and then how you can help them. And there's the white space you're looking for with the company you're with or with an idea that you have. That's how you figure out whether your idea is going to work, by getting into other people's heads, not because you feel strongly about something and you know it's going to work. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I always say dream
might work
big,
for you.
Sample small, fail quick. And the sample small is critical. That's to get out of your head and figure out how other people are feeling and thinking about what you're thinking about doing, and open your mind up to that. And that's what's going to give you the keys to being an entrepreneur, or to take the job that you're at and grow it and get it better. Think about the guy think about the person who worked at Nabisco. When I was a kid growing up, there was one sleeve and three. The person who worked at M&M's, it was peanut and plain in one pack. You go in a supermarket, there's an aisle for Oreo cookies. There's hundreds of versions of M&M's. Somebody stopped thinking about the plain, ordinary process that those two, and killed it, completely thought about the business differently. And I can go through 100 products that way.
I see what you
So
mean.
I ask the people that are listening, like, get your head on a swivel, get out of your head, and start getting into other people's heads. Start thinking about your product differently. Look at Jack Taylor, look what he did. It's amazing.
Is that how it is amazing. And I didn't know that story. And I think it's a beautiful one. It reminds me that even in my real estate investing space or my one-on-one coaching space, I can think about things a little bit different. Maybe, I don't know, sometimes I bring my coaching students together on a webinar so we can all talk together, but maybe I could also bring, let's say, an athlete who likes to speak on that particular topic, and it's a little bit different. I like that.
If you're not thinking about every aspect of your business this way, you're going to end up getting stuck in the mud. Like, there's a meeting, your whole meeting could be done differently. It could be, you can hold your meeting somewhere different. You can bring different guests on in a Zoom call. You can bring different refreshments on to drive home the point. You know, I work for Hyatt Hotels. We opened up the hotel and we were really working hard, 90 hours a week. High occupancy. Was just the hotel took off back in my earlier days when I first got out of school. And one of our meetings was on the, I don't know if I have the picture. One of the meetings was on the bottom of the pool on the roof. We actually met in the pool on the roof. That's where the meeting was. And it was such a spoof. It was just changing it up, man. You know, just mixing things up. And that's, I think, such a key element is, like, as a manager, as a leader, how do you keep things fresh, and how do you earn your keep? You know, what value adding every day to warrant you being able to be in charge of a group of people? And what value adding when you're working at a company that warrants them wanting to keep you, to elevate you? And value is what you could do for someone they can't do for themselves. And if you're not thinking about value add, whether it be in your relationships, your friendships, and your job, then you're going to be unhappy and you're going to be flat and you're going to get miserable. Not because of the job, but because you're not thinking and you're not
thinking,
able to get out of your head.
Yeah, you're pressing repeat. And I tell people, you can, you know, people want to get out of the rat race in the 9-to-5 world, if you will. And I get it. There's nothing wrong with 9 to 5, but if you're just pressing repeat every day, it gets a little bit monotonous and what have you. But it can be the same thing in the business world and in the entrepreneurial world if you don't think outside the box.
And in your marriage.
And your marriage, and being a parent, that can actually press people. I know that you do a lot of keynote speaking. In fact, I watched a few of them before, just in researching this conversation, what have you. And just the last 10 minutes of suggesting that you should have more empathy and look at it from your customer's perspective. I'm going to equate that to one of your topics about how to create unique spins that change the game. We can change our game. I think it's hard for people to get out of their own way, though. I know what I know, so I tend to lean on it as the gospel. You know what I mean? Did you have mentors who kind of pushed you this way? Did you self-develop this thought process that pushes you to living on purpose? And you got to have balls. I'm very aware of your books. Where did this drive come from, and your ability to just generate this kind of momentum, if you will, and this kind of motivation?
I hate to use such a common phrase, but the world, everybody's a teacher in the world is a classroom. Like, you have to be in constant search of what you can learn, and you turn up. And if you really want to really get down to it, probably if I would say the one key secret for me, whether you're poor or rich or whatever, you have to have a high level of curiosity.
Curiosity.
You have to have a high level of curiosity. And part of the high curiosity is a high level of non-acceptance. So if you're not willing to accept what you have or what you know, which most people get comfortable and they think, oh, wow, how smart I am. Look at the college I went to. Look at my title. Look at my job. But at the end of the day, we all know we don't really know much. I mean, I've never met anybody who doesn't really have a shitload to learn. I always look at my son, who thought he was way too smart. Finally, he got out to the real world. He realized he's doing well, but he realized, like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on out here. And the faster you realize like that, got to have a high level of curiosity, and that will bring you to all the different people that are out there that can help you. I mean, I couldn't even list the amount of mentors and the people that have guided me, shown me the way. And it's come in so many different forms, boxes, and in gifts. And the other thing is, and this is a really important word, enthusiasm. I've had an incredibly high level of enthusiasm since I'm a kid. And I think, the 10, 11-year-old, when you think about your enthusiasm when you're that age, no matter what your age is now, you need to go back to your 10 and 11-year-old self as often as you can, because you had a high level of curiosity and you thought at that age everything was possible. And the reality of it, most cases, for most of us, it really is. It's just, well, you get married, you have kids, or this, that. I mean, life happens.
It's hard.
At the end of the day, the doors are still open. And the reason, the key word about enthusiasm is, the root word is enthusios, which is to be with God. And one of the most important things, and most people wouldn't think of me this way, but you have to have a strong level of faith. You have to believe, whether you believe in God or a higher power, or that things are meant to be. You have to have that kind of enthusiasm when you were 11. And maybe you weren't sure exactly about your whole religious direction, but you had enthusiasm. You had a belief that you were going to work hard one day and good things were going to happen. And when you lose that belief, it's tough. It's tough to really get forward and go follow your dreams. So it's really important to have a high level of curiosity combined with enthusiasm, and that will help you. That curiosity times enthusiasm equals really, really big and great things to happen / entrepreneurship even. And that entrepreneurship can happen in the very space you're in, in the very marriage you're in, everything. It's all up to you. But if you're searching on how to do it, look at your level of enthusiasm and curiosity. Ask yourself when you went and got a book about something that was different than the exact thing that you're doing. Ask yourself when you made a new friend that wasn't in the little posse of friends you've had for 30 years. When I was 50, I went home one day and I knew that, and this is what led me to write the Living on Purpose book. But I was like, something, I need a new flock. I need new friends. So I went home and I told my wife, I said I was going to join this round table. Harvey McKay was putting a round table together. He asked me to be part of it. It was $75,000. My wife was like, if you go near that bank account, I will kill you. Like, you don't need that. You're doing great. I'm like, I said, I need to refresh it. There were only two sports personalities. There were 40 people. There were two sports personalities. I need to get a different view. I need to go hang out with some other people that are doing different things. And it was amazing. My life turned around. I mean, there's a group of people that I joined this club, and they've been my friends ever since. And what I've learned, where I've looked at my own business and see the things through their eyes. So, change your flock. It's okay as an adult. It's harder to make some new friends. Stop hanging out with the same people. Not there's anything wrong with those people, but find some new friends. And as an adult, you got to be you got to be a little aggressive to find new friends when you're a little older, but it's important to do so because they'll shed some light on what they're going through. Because most of us, whatever we're going through, we're not really alone. I mean, most of us going through the same
No,
stuff.
everyone's got it. But there's a couple points you made that I'm gonna go back and highlight because I think they're important. But before I do that, how do people find those round tables? I think that's where they struggle. I've been to my tribe or network of people, especially through podcasting, to be honest. I've met some very unique people that know way more than I do about stuff I know nothing about, and I just want to learn from them. So I find ways to add value to their life, or I have a saying, what with it? What's the with it? What's in it for them? How is your presence going to make that person better? And I seem to find my way into groups overseas, in the US, in real estate. Now I'm executive producing some TV shows all of a sudden because I met the right
But you're
people.
doing it now. You're interviewing people. I'm sure some of these things lead to different relationships.
They do,
You're
but how did
curious.
you but how did you do that?
There's
Like
men's
what
club. There are men's clubs. There's
okay.
men's clubs. There are always associations in the businesses you're in. There's
Yeah.
YPO, depending what level you're in. There's so many different association clubs, and now online with a lot of them, you don't have to
Yeah.
go anywhere. A lot of these things are online. I like the in-person ones better. I still feel like
Me
great
too.
relationships happen. When I'm sitting in a room with you, we're breaking with Brandon,
Yeah.
really talking about, stuff that comes up after an hour of all the bullshit about here's what you do, here's what I do, here's my wife's name and whatever. And then you get into, the real stuff sometimes happens at 11 o'clock after you've been into an all night kind of all
That's
day
it.
meeting with different speakers, right? So, but these
Yeah.
these things are all over the place if you start looking for them. And a big part of it is just doing some stuff that you're not really comfortable with. It's not comfortable going to a group that you don't know anybody. It's not
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. I mean, but you gotta, this is what it takes. I mean, I went into a room, I didn't know anybody. I mean, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I know
Yeah,
I'm
you
sitting
just
there looking in
but
the
you
room, all these
trusted.
people,
You jumped. You got
enthusiasm.
your curiosity. And so let me so I got 4 points that I want to highlight that you said that were fantastic that I try life on people need to hear. First of all, you said the high level of curiosity. I told you I was in IT for 25 years, but I had this thing about being a police officer, so I found a way to do both full time for 15 years. Real estate for me was never about money. It was about the fact that I wanted freedom. And I was like, how am I seeing people out in the world just floating around doing their things? So I started researching it quite a bit. I think that's what you mean about like your high level of curiosity. Even me, when I was researching you, and you saw when I finally got you on, I'm like, no, I kind of look forward to learning from you because I'm 48, but I feel like I know nothing. I feel like I'm starting over constantly where I want to be in the constant
Because
beginner's
you
mindset.
are,
Yeah, that's
because
true,
you
but
are.
it's true.
And by the way, not everything has to lead to a touchdown. We
No, of
watch a lot of
course not.
football games.
Yeah,
There's
man.
a lot of things that happen in a game that are setting you up for the next drive or to
That's it.
stop a drive that
That's it.
doesn't lead to anything great. There are a lot of plays and people that are on the field doing a lot of things that are going to get no credit for getting themselves to the end zone. And you have to be prepared to do a lot of those things, which we call process. And I call it pop. You
Process.
have to
Yeah.
have progress on process is pop. Do you have pop? Do you have progress on process? Because if you do, more than likely that means you're growing, you're improving every day. Like what's your rate of growth? Look at your pop. And to me, not
Wow.
everything has to be this big, oh my God, look what I did. Helping a teammate, what kind of teammate are you? What kind of coworker are you? Those things matter. What kind of community person you are. I mean, some of the most amazing things have happened from kids' parents who I coached in Little League. But they said, I've never seen anybody coach a Little League team like you. What you've done for my kids. It's
Wow.
unbelievable. I got to help you. So it's unbelievable. But if you're that kind of person and you're putting everything into everything you do, which should
Mm-hmm.
include your community, it should include your synagogue or church, it should include your work, even if you don't get credit for it. Because when you become that kind of person,
Yep.
people notice and they want to be around you, and then opportunities will start popping up. I mean, I get opportunities in my synagogue, for God's sakes. Like somebody just came and gave me this
You
big
got to get there.
collection
Yep.
in the synagogue because he knows I've done a bunch of things to donate to my synagogue. And I don't do the things for the synagogue to get something back, but I just put as much good out as I can every day.
It's one of the
Yeah.
two things you said that we're here on this planet to do, to help people and to grow. which I totally believe you. And then the other thing I just wanted to throw out,
Thank you.
I love this when you said having a high level of non-acceptance. Just not, I call it, I have Tri-Life on principles. And one of the principles, status quo is a default language. It's this thing that we were taught in 20 years of formal education and maybe some family upbringing, what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to look like, the title you're supposed to have, the amount of money you're supposed to make, slap some money in a 401k, you'll be fine. I don't like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with it, but I have chosen status quo doesn't define me. And the way you said it ingrained it in me even more when you're like, no, man, have a high level of non-acceptance of whatever is around you that you feel is the norm, and you just want to do that every day. No, which pushes you to that curiosity, which I think is just a beautiful thing. And I know we're sitting across the screen where it's 2023, like we don't meet in person all the time anymore, but I can just feel the enthusiasm in your life about business, entrepreneurialism, and more so living on purpose. I love that, man. And I want to stay that way. So I get excited to be around people like you who push
And
the
you
envelope.
can.
Yeah.
What matters is it doesn't matter where you are. That's the point. It doesn't matter. Like I was in a cockroach infested apartment. You have a choice. You can get upset about it or you can do something about it. Like you have a choice. And I'm not saying it's easy. You're 11 years old. It's not easy. I'm like, this is not for me. I don't want to live in this. But you start by taking action over anxiety, and you start by doing something about it and saying, I'm not accepting this. But a lot of people choose the other thing. They just get angry. Like, how could life be doing this to me? How could life give me this shitty deck of cards? How could life be, putting this on me? But I look at it like, thank you. Well, thank you, because I know it's going to get me revved up. Thank you for throwing me out of my company I built for 35 years. Thank you. I love Steiner. It was a great company. I put my love, heart into it. Thank you for throwing me out of my ass, because I needed the wake-up call to go build something better, smarter, different that I knew my customers really needed. And maybe at that time, I just needed the push, or maybe I didn't have the balls to do it. So thank you. So sometimes, like some of the worst things that happen to you, and believe me, when you get, it's painful. I'm not saying it's not a cakewalk. It hurts. When you get punched in the face, it hurts. When you go home and your husband or wife says, I'm leaving you, it hurts. But more than likely, there's a part of that sandwich is your fault. I always say, like, manager says, I've got this really lousy employee. He doesn't work hard. Something, whose fault it is? Yours. Not the employee. It's your fault. You put up with it. You tolerate it. It doesn't matter what that employee is doing. It matters what you're tolerating. And you're tolerating because you're too lazy to do something about it. So I'm glad you recognize that employee is no good and needs to be changed. But what are you going to do about it?
It's a choice. It is a choice. And sometimes life does happen for you, not to you. We got to accept that. But I think we're humans and we do have feelings and emotions and stuff. But as you say, get back to the enthusiasm that you had when you were 10 years old. We fell down, we scraped up, cried a little bit, got back up, started running again, just because there was more woods and yards out there where we could go jump fences and do amazing things. I would be remiss if I did not ask you for a cool athlete story or something that people would just think is an interesting story, since you've been around so many. I don't know. Do you have a favorite sport? Do you have a favorite athlete?
I have so many. I mean, I'm remiss. It's hard because so many stories. And I'm a collector. When I meet somebody who's great at what they do, I get, it's exciting, but I get over that quick because I want to know how the hell they got there and what they're made up is. It's not the physical and what they're born with. I mean, that's part of it with some of the greatness but a lot of greatness comes from people that have figured out and developed. And so I'm sitting in, I'll tell you one just because I talked to Mariano there. I talked to him this morning, actually. So he's on my mind. But so I'm at Tampa Stadium at spring training. Yeah. This is back late 90s, early 2000s. So, he was Mariano there, but not like what he is now, the unanimous Hall of Famer. And I'm sitting down watching the game. It's like the fourth inning, and in comes at the top of the fifth inning, in comes Mariano Vera to sit down next to me in the stadium.
He just sat there. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it was cool. I mean, I was like, wow, I'm sitting next to Mariano watching the Yankee. That's cool. But I'm like, yo, dude, like, what are you doing here? He goes, we have an appearance afterwards. I asked Joe, which is the manager, Joe Torre, if I could pitch early because I had something I had to do after the game. He said yes. and I just pitched the last inning. I go, you know, something, I wasn't paying attention. I go, I guess it's just a spring training. He goes, what are you talking about? Like, I was out there the last inning. That was 8 pitches, 1, 2, 3. I said, yeah, but spring training, it's March. Who cares? He goes,
Right.
Brandon, when I go on a mound, regardless of the day, the year, whatever, I am pitching like it's World Series Game 7. I went on the mound today for that inning like it was the World Series and the most important game of my life. And the reason is that when I get to Game 7 during the summer, people say, how do you do it? I don't have to do anything. I'm doing what I always do. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And I'm going and approaching everything I do the same way, the highest level of professionalism that I can. This way, when I get into crazy, whatever situations that my teammates have put me in, I have to change nothing. My mental mindset doesn't change. Physically, nothing changes. There's no such thing, Brandon, as a big game. It's insulting when you say, oh, I've got a big game to all the other games that you're playing. And I say that to everybody that's listening. It's like when somebody says, oh, I got a big meeting. Well, what are you saying about all the other big meetings? What's that mean? Well, the other meetings, that they're not big. Imagine if your doctor walked in the operating room and said, this is not that big a deal. Like, you want that surgeon to walk in, like every operation is his biggest operation. There'll never be a variance. And that's what makes the great doctors the great ones, is the level of consistency and do whatever's needed because they're so present and focused in on what the task at hand. So I ask you, are there big games in your day and week, or is every day a big day? Because when someone comes in here, I'm talking to you like I was talking to a keynote speaking thing for 1,000. Someone was paying me 50 grand to do.
Yeah.
I do the same thing when somebody walks in and spends $200. They spend $2 million. I have the same level of focus, enthusiasm, because I know there's no such thing as a big sale, a big meeting, big game. No such thing. And when I see players that waver in their performance, those are people I know that are not on their way to extraordinary greatness.
Wow.
Anybody can have a big day. Anybody can have a big week. But can you do, consistency over time is what gets you to really extraordinary greatness. And that's what I think when I look at my career so far, you come in my office any day I welcome you here. And you find me, it's not Brandon's having an off day. He's having a bad day. Yeah, he's a little off today. He's taking it easy. That's not happening. And if I'm feeling that, I just do not come in. Every now and then I got to take a break. I may take a vacation. But when I come in here, this is my field. Yeah. Oh no, I'm here. I'm already 3 steps ahead of everybody here, and I am all in 150%, not 99%, because the difference between 99% and 100% is 100%. So if you say, well, I'm 99% in, nah, you're not even in at all. So think about where you are and think about how you approach the big game. And is every day the big game for you? Because if you want to be great, that's what you got to do. And I love that story because I didn't see it coming.
He taught you something. I think if we treat life that way, you just taught me a huge lesson, brother. If we treat life that way, it is the 9th inning in Game 7 on Wednesday, November the 15th. Just get after it. Go try life on your way. Go do your thing. Go push. And for someone like you who started so many businesses, so I pretty much read your whole thing. For someone like you who started so many businesses, does so many motivational speeches, started another one at age 60, whatever that even means, doesn't matter. It just means you're still on your journey. That's all I care about. I think you are the living epitome of it. And the funny thing, man, you strike me. I hope you take this the right way. I'm gonna take a chance here. I don't get very excited on a personal level about extraordinary people. And by extraordinary people, I just kind of mean, oh, this person fell into fame just because, or their parents had a lot of money just because or something. I do get excited about ordinary people like my brothers and sisters from New York who do extraordinary things. You strike me as that type of person. You really do.
I think we're all ordinary.
I think we're all ordinary, and we have the ability to make our extraordinary ordinary, but it's a choice. The way you are living, the way you speak about life, sir, the way you have started stuff, accept your faults and your fears, but keep going, to me, that's extraordinary. And to me, that's trying life on, which is why I'm very happy I got you on the podcast today, because I want people to feel energy and emotion from people like you. That thing I told you, being an executive, then going to be a street cop, I'll add. Then I went to go be a federal agent all at the same time. Now I'm living in another country after visiting 100 over my career, 200 million in real estate. And it's not that I even wanted to do it. I was just trying to help people have affordable housing. I need a why. After I stopped being a cop, I struggled. I was like, I need a why. I got to do something. It's that kind of energy I sense people have felt from me. And to hear it from someone like you, who's been around quite a bit and done a lot with amazing people, I'm grateful. I just want you to know that I'm sincerely grateful for the energy you put out today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll just say this, and that is, first of all, I'm writing a book about urban policing.
Yeah.
And I've been doing ride-alongs with police officers the last 3 months, interviewing all kinds of people that are living in cities and their view on policing, which we need to get
Let me know if
policing
I
to be
can
better.
help you. Yeah.
So I'm
Let me know
looking
if I can
forward. This book is my 4th book that I'm writing. And then the last thing I'll say is this, and that is, life is going to throw you a bunch of crap, and it's not all a picnic. I don't care how wealthy, successful you are.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff's coming that you're not going to like, and some stuff that actually could be really bad. I mean, we're all going to face some really high levels of difficulty. But what I'll tell you is that when that difficulty hits you, you got to fall in love with it. You got to find gratitude and joy out of some of the worst things that have happened to you. It's critical that you flip the switch, because your tendency is to be angry, upset, and that kind of energy will stop you from getting on your path to mission. And you've got to settle up. And an athlete, a friend of mine, says, when something bad happens, he goes, "Well, that's paid for already. You can't take it back. It's paid for already." And I love that line. It's simple. Like when he strikes out, he goes, "That's paid for already.
Paid for. Nothing you can do about that. It's gone."
Nothing you can do. And I think that's really important in life. Like when you do something bonehead or something really horrible happens, and it does happen to many people, you got to fall in love and realize that it happened for a reason, and it can set you on a better path. Radically accept it, deal with it, so that you can move on to the next great thing, because that's no question, whatever it is that happened to you will make you better, stronger. No question. We know that adversity and difficulty will make you better and stronger 99.9% of the time. So life's not always fair, but it gives you a bunch of curveballs. But what I've realized, like growing up really poor, growing up without a dad, I could sit here and cry about it, but it may be better, it may be stronger. Look at all the advantages I have. Imagine as a 10-year-old, I'm doing shopping, I'm balancing checkbook, I'm paying bills. Who does that? Who's working at 10 years old on their own? But now you think I wake up worrying about how to make money when all my friends are still trying to figure out how to make a living? So there's always advantages to some of the worst things that have happened to you in most cases. So try to fall in love with it and try to settle up, because it really does help clear the path for the greatness that you're destined to have, and not get in the way.
From a personal perspective, this has been the hardest year of my life. I won't go into the reasons. It doesn't matter. It has been the hardest year of my life, and I received that. From a business perspective, you can imagine in the real estate space, with interest rates being so high, how money has kind of ground to a halt in large scale real estate, the way that I do apartment complexes in the US. It's hard. But as I listen to you, I'm like, all it's going to do is make me better for the next cycle that comes around in a few years.
100%. Let me just comment on the real estate little cry. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I feel horrible. The interest rates those interest rates that exist now would be considered outside of the last 5-6 years be incredibly good.
Yeah,
so we
exactly.
get
Perspective.
You do what you did, you get used to it. What I say is good. And I'm glad these you know why? While the business was booming, the real estate interest rates were low, all these fakers came into the business and get in the way. Everybody thought they were broker. Now the waters get rough, and the sharks keep swimming. And the guppies, all those fakers, they're out. Now's the time when you get into really hardcore real estate brokering, relationship building, really tactical, figuring out how to get stuff done. Even though the rates are not outlandish, and those rates are probably coming down in the next 6 months to some degree. But now's the time to go business develop. Now's the time to business relationship develop. Get together with people that have more business coming, and get better with those people, because everything goes cyclical, right? Or you can get caught up. And so many brokers are sitting at home crying. Me, I thrive in an environment like this. I love it. Bring it.
Yeah,
Love the difficulty.
John Templeton John Templeton of Templeton Fund said, when there's blood in the streets, that's when you go out. That's when you go make things happen. You are the author of You Gotta Have Balls, The Business Playbook, Living on Purpose. I know you're writing one more book now. On behalf of other people, I'm glad you put so much goodness out into the environment. I just think it's great, man. And where you are in life and the fact that you're still pushing like that, you're going to do nothing but motivate the people who listen to this podcast. So I just want to thank you for coming on, Mr. Steiner. I'm
a big LinkedIn guy, so follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I constantly post on LinkedIn and Facebook or Instagram.
Just so website, what are your handles? What are your handles? Yeah, where do people find you and what are your handles?
I mean, LinkedIn, just go to Brandon Steiner. You'll see you can't connect with me, so you got to follow me, and then Brandon Steiner on Facebook. But then if you go to Collectible Exchange, you'll see my books for free. You just pay for the shipping. So if you want any of my books, Matt, you just put it in the notes if you want it autographed or signed to someone. I'm giving away my books always in the fourth quarter for free, holiday time. So that's all cool and that's all good. And all my speaking, by the way, just to mention, like all my speaking money, my book money goes to charities. So I feel like I'm killing two birds with one stone in a good way. One, I'm helping people, and then whatever money I make on this, I'm helping more people.
Yep,
it's just a win-win.
And you're still growing.
So I feel really good when I am able to go and share these messages because I know I'm helping people in a bunch of different ways. So I'm very grateful to have that opportunity. Listen, I go home, nobody's listening to me, so I got to go somewhere to talk. So got to keep it all level.
We won't tell her that.
She knows.
She knows. She knows. That's what's up. I appreciate you. I'll put all that stuff in the show notes, man. You have a blessed day, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. All right, keep grinding. Take care.
Oh, man. Hey, guys, this is Maurice, host of the Try Life On podcast, and thank you for listening to another episode. I hope you are finding it useful in helping you design your own lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. If that's the case, please consider dropping a review for me, whether in Apple, iTunes, or in Spotify. Drop a review, put some stars on it, give me some feedback on how I can make the podcast better, what information you are looking for. I am doing my best to get information to you on the Try Life On principles, the 5 freedoms, how to build lifestyle, travel hacking, all of it. And I want to do it for you. So please do a review for me. And until next time, my name is Maurice Philogene, and this is the Try Life On podcast. Peace.